public battle over event funding seemed to reach a conclusion this week, only to reignite on social media. The South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority, or SSCVA, convened Monday to decide whether or not to grant a request for additional funding for Hammond's Festival of the Lakes. At the organization's June meeting, Hammond Mayor Thomas McDermott Jr. apologized for negative comments he made about the group and its decision to relocate the South Shore Air Show from Gary to Fair Oaks. The air show was canceled last week after heavy rains flooded the parking and viewing areas. The SSCVA originally budgeted $30,000 for Festival of the Lakes. The City of Hammond requested that the amount be increased to $50,000.
Vic and I, in our private conversations with the mayor, told him we would endeavor to get him as close to 50 or the 50 as we could. We fully disclosed that there was some concern on the board and that this was not going to be some kind of a walk in the park.
By going on and taking the high road, well, what an opportunity that we have to show that we are above all of that we are not going to let that kind of a behavior all change our behavior. We have the upper hand by supporting his organization.
As I go around and look at the list, with one exception, well noted, everybody seems in favor of donating to the Festival of Lakes.
After lively discussion, the board approved a $40,000 sponsorship for the festival, pending an agreement with the city regarding the terms of the sponsorship. However, Mayor McDermott took to Facebook to announce that he had rejected the money and that President and CEO of the SSCVA, Spiros Batistatos, had agreed to the $50,000 amount in exchange for McDermott's silence regarding the air show move. The Festival of the Lakes is scheduled to begin July 11th. A public education official is in critical condition this week after a suspected home invasion in the 6700 block of the Indy Illy Parkway in Hammond. Dr. Walter Watkins, the superintendent of the Hammond Public School System, was found severely beaten in his home on Tuesday. Dr. Watkins, a recent guest on Lakeshore Report, suffered extensive head trauma and a fractured jaw as a result of the apparent burglary. Hammond police say the attack occurred sometime between 9:30 Monday evening and 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, though they have not identified a suspect. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the Hammond Police Department at 219-853-6490. It's once again illegal for same-sex couples to be married in the state of Indiana, with one notable exception. Last week, Judge Richard Young ruled that Indiana's marriage laws were discriminatory and unconstitutional. While same-sex couples and their supporters celebrated, the Indiana Attorney General's office lost no time requesting an emergency stay of the ruling pending an appeal. On June 27th, the U.S. 7th Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago granted the motion. However, the court also ruled that Indiana must recognize the 2013 Massachusetts marriage of Munster residents Amy Sandler and Nicole Kwasny. Kwasny is suffering from a terminal illness. For now, the couple have the distinction of being the only recognized same-sex marriage in the state of Indiana. This week, most of the laws passed by Indiana's General Assembly during the last fiscal year went into effect. Among those is HB 1006, the overhaul of Indiana's criminal code. The law is better meant to match sentencing to crimes and to save the state money by keeping people out of state prisons. SB 229 decriminalizes the possession of a firearm on school property if the weapon is out of sight in a locked vehicle. Lawmakers say this will prevent parents who may legally possess a firearm from unintentionally violating the law when picking children up from school. Two bills passed during the last fiscal year helped Governor Pence fulfill his promise to make Indiana more business-friendly. HB 1001 lets counties eliminate the tax on new purchases, and SB 1 allows counties to entirely eliminate the tax on small businesses. A Gary native has been nominated to be the new head of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Bob McDonald, the former chairman of the board, president, and CEO of Procter & Gamble, is President Barack Obama's pick to address the, quote, significant and chronic systemic failures at the VA, including too little responsiveness, transparency, and accountability, end quote. Mr. McDonald says he is eager to lead the effort to make the VA more effective and more efficient. If confirmed by the Senate, the Northwest Indiana native would replace Eric Shinseki, who resigned in May. President Obama recently honored the 50th anniversary of the act that he says effectively ended legal segregation and, quote, defined our national identity, end quote. Reporter Hillary Powell explores how one local city's unique tie to the civil rights movements still resonates.
Gary, Indiana's efforts to create a fair environment for all Hoosiers ring relevant half a century after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. recently marked the act's anniversary in the region and says Gary was invaluable to curbing inequality. In this historic year, we take a look back at how the fight to end injustice was shouldered by a few local political voices and how their efforts echoed on a national level. It's a gathering where the minority, for one historic moment, became a majority.
8,000 black people all together, plus the media, in the gym at Westside High School. And they were talking about empowering each other, but the very essence of it for me was already empowering, just to see all of these people.
Veteran journalist Renee Ferguson was just out of college in 1972. The National Black Political Convention she covered at Westside High School in Gary, Indiana, was a rarity. An African-American delegate from every state, every political party reflected, and no white citizens allowed.
They had made a demand, the people who put the convention together, that only black reporters could cover it. And so that was a chance for me. It gave me a real opportunity.
Nothing had happened quite like that, because what you had in the late 60s was a growing militance on the part of many black people.
James Lane, an historian and co-director of the Calumet Regional Archives, says Gary was fertile territory for the radical gathering because of the work that happened a decade before.
Richard Hatcher ran successfully for city council in 1963. So in 1964, the same year that the Civil Rights Act was passed, he took his seat as a city councilman. And they recommended an omnibus civil rights bill that would prohibit discrimination in schools, in hiring, in public places like restaurants, and that narrowly passed in the mid-60s.
Lane says when Gary's African-American population approached 50% in the early 1960s, they saw Hatcher as a natural leader. This rare footage, courtesy of Huntley Film Archives, shows Hatcher's effect on a crowd after being inaugurated mayor in 1968.
This has been one of the most significant campaigns in the history of our city.
He was the first black mayor of a significantly sized city. After the death of the assassination of Martin Luther King, it was hard for any figure to provide a unity.
Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. worked with Dr. Martin Luther King in the 1960s.
Mayor Hatcher was maybe the only national mayor we ever had. He saw his role as mobilizing national black political consciousness. Gary became the national headquarters of black political empowerment. That's why the convention was here. Because of Mayor Hatcher, he's the one man that had the moral authority and the credentials as a mayor to make it happen.
Jackson says the 1972 convention was a turning point for equality following 60s civil rights legislation. A major cornerstone of the convention was the Black Agenda, a manifesto of urgent issues black leaders wanted to address.
That basically said this is where black people want to be for the next 5 years. Next 10 years.
Hatcher helped craft the list as part of the steering committee. The ambitious agenda addressed topics like increasing the minimum wage, eliminating capital punishment, and establishing national health care.
We may in many ways be in worse shape today than we were in '72.
Hatcher says several of the concerns continue to resurface for black America.
Many of them not new issues. The first thing that I think we should do as we look to the future is we need to go back and read that agenda, because it is very relevant to all the things that are happening to us today.
Next week on Lakeshore Report, we'll look at how Gary's historic footprint has shaped race relations in the region more recently. Well, grassroots efforts like conventions and homegrown campaigns have historically helped smaller organizations grow strong. Steve Walsh sat down with Sheriff John Bunsich to explore the validity of grassroots campaigns in today's political landscape.
Sheriff John Bunsage has just taken over as the new head of the Lake County Democratic Party. He's vowing to increase participation. On this holiday week, we have him on to talk about the future of grassroots organizing. Sheriff, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
So, what are your plans for the 4th of July here? Is it important for candidates to get out and be seen this weekend?
Well, since I was elected just a few days ago, we have already begun the process of getting the candidates that are seeking office. There's some very important races come fall, and we're going to be out with them during the holiday weekend, the parades and other activities, the state representative races, the county council races. So these are the ones that we're going to be focusing on to regain control of those seats.
You're talking about there were a lot of open seats for that election you had over the last weekend there, a lot of precinct spots that were not filled up. You're vowing to get those filled and filled soon. How are you going to do that?
Well, we've already begun the reorganization process that I've set a goal of by August 15th to have all the vacancies for the precinct committeeman slots and vice precinct committeeman slots filled by that time.
Why is that so hard?
Well, it just seems that some of the committeemen that were in there, a lot of them did not seek re-election. And when the new ones are taking over now, the new precinct committee people, it's their opportunity now to appoint a vice.
The news came out that the Lake County Republican Party, they're not going to appoint candidates in like against 7 of your office holders, so 7 races. They won't be opposed, including a commissioner and several of the county-wide seats. What's your reaction to that?
Well, for us, that's good that they won't be seeking. There will not be contested races in several of those.
But does it make it a little harder for some of the candidates that maybe do need a little bit of help? Is that going to depress turnout?
No, not really. It gives us the opportunity as the Democrats to focus in more intensely on these other races that I talked about, the state rep and the county council seats.
So those become the top races, especially the one county council seat I'm imagining, which is Weiser versus Hal Slager.
Well, that's a state representative's race, yeah. Right? That is going to be a very good race, and we're looking to regain that seat. And then you have the South County, where Jim Metro will be seeking the election. I mean, the office of state representative against a Republican candidate from Porter County. And then you have the 2 county council races, like I said. Katie Dowling is going against the incumbent, Dan Durnall.
So we talked with Hammond Mayor McDermott, the man you're now replacing. He said that, if he ever decides to run for a statewide office, it's hard to be chairman of the Lake County Democratic Party and run statewide. Does Lake County still have an image problem, you think, around the state? And how do you fix that?
I don't think we have an image problem. I think what we have to do, again, is just restore the pride in our party. We are the 2nd largest Democratic stronghold in the state of Indiana. Since being elected a few days ago, I have gotten calls from all over the state, from party officials, office holders. I've gotten calls from Washington, D.C., and there are a lot of focus is here on Lake County, Indiana. Historically, we have always put out a large plurality of votes for the Democratic candidates, especially when it comes to the governor, or the gubernatorial, and presidential races. So that's what we're focusing in on. Build between now and 2016.
And is that really the big race, 2016, when we have a president and a governor on?
That's most certainly. We want to regain the governor's mansion and keep a Democrat in the White House.
Well, for right now, that's where we're going to have to leave it. Sheriff John Bunsage, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Steve.
In the 1930s, as conflict increased across Europe and Asia, thousands of Americans with a passion for aviation were eager to help defend their country. The result was the Civil Air Patrol, a volunteer force that today still provides education and emergency services. I was honored to join a group of young volunteers as they begin their training in an organization designed to teach discipline and community service.
On a warm Saturday afternoon, dozens of volunteers between 12 and 18 years old gather at the Indiana National Guard facility at the Gary Chicago International Airport.
We're going to talk about the salute. We're going to talk about coming to attention.
The group listens patiently to a lesson in military customs, all the while waiting for the opportunity that brought most of them here, the chance to fly. On this day, new recruits to the Civil Air Patrol are waiting for morning fog to clear so they can take their first flight as cadets. Their instructor, Major Aaron Angelini, remembers that feeling. He began as a cadet himself some 14 years ago. Today, he leads 8 units with a combined 75 cadets.
So Civil Air Patrol was actually created 7 days before Pearl Harbor happened, December 1st, 1941. It was really a bunch of aviation enthusiasts trying to get together to do some flying. After that happened, we were tasked, because we were the largest group of single-engine aircrafts around, to do coastal patrol during World War II.
After sinking 2 German submarines and rescuing pilots whose aircraft were shot down, the Civil Air Patrol became a permanent volunteer wing of the newly formed United States Air Force in 1948. Today, the nonprofit group focuses on 3 missions, including emergency services.
Our main focus is with search and rescue. Airplanes have emergency locating transponders, and when they go off, they send us to go find them. We either are called out by the Air Force Rescue Coordination Center to do Air Force missions, or the governor can call us out for different disasters. And we never know. A tornado could hit at any time, an earthquake can hit at any time, and we're always preparing because we never know when we're going to be needed.
The second mission is the cadet program, which stresses leadership, discipline, and community service.
This is part of the youth development program that we do to install leadership, self-discipline, and other good morals for them. It is one day a week, usually about 2.5 hours for the meetings, and then we have weekend activities. There's no formal commitment, and a lot of it is teaching them followership and how to manage themselves before they can manage others. So it's really a crawl, walk, run kind of strategy we use for developing our cadets.
Cadet Logan Kripe says he joined to get an early start at a military career.
I really liked airplanes, and my uncle was in the Army, and I thought about joining the Army, so then I decided to join as CAP from somebody from our church who told us about it. I was pretty excited. I wanted to fly the airplanes the most, and then later actually joined an academy where I could fly gliders and such, and then I got my private glider's license so I can fly around and have fun.
The third mission, aerospace education, is an important part of cadet training. Programs are also presented to the community and at local schools.
We do internal aerospace education within Civil Air Patrol, and then we have external aerospace education where we actually go out to local communities to teach about aerospace.
That was my favorite part, like how the airplanes work and how they fly and stuff like that. That was what I really liked.
While many of the cadets aspire to join the military, no commitment is needed. Cadets go on to use their skills in a variety of fields, and some simply enjoy flying.
That's basically like what the majority of the people do is join CAP because they like to fly. If you really like airplanes, I highly suggest the program.
The wildest thing is to have a cadet who's real timid and shut down and not really talking, and after about 2 years of us being able to develop them, they're telling people what to do, different orders, telling them how to march right, fixing their uniform, and completely come out of their shell. It's definitely rewarding.
Well, there are lots of ways to help your local community, and now we want to tell you a little bit about an opportunity Sunday evening to help the community and enjoy some great music and a local park all at the same time. I'm joined now by Tom Maloney. He is the Interim Vice President of Radio Operations here at the Lakeshore 89.1 FM. He'll be a part of the Lightning Bug Music Festival Sunday evening. Tell us a little bit about that fest.
Sarah, I tell you what, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's at Sunset Hill Farm Park in Valparaiso. Tickets still available. They'll be available at the door. Your chance to check out Buckwheat Zydeco, Special Consensus, and Chester Brown, a couple of those bands from Northwest Indiana. Food tents, beer tents, and of course it all goes for a great cause.
You can also hear some of those bands on your local radio show, correct?
Transistor Breakdown every Saturday night at 11 o'clock, the shameless plug. We love that in radio. Check out live local music here in Northwest Indiana.
All right, and as you said, the money that they make at the show will go to supporting a local cause, send some great kids to a local educational program this summer. So check that out if you can. And coming up, John Kane has more information on some local events in this week's Eye on the Arts.
Hi, joining me for this edition of Eye on the Arts is Jessica Costello, who is with the Munster Parks and Recreation Department. Jessica, nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So, is there life in the park after the 4th of July?
Oh gosh, we have so much going on. We have our summer concert series, which takes place on random Sundays throughout the summer. We also have our movies in the park, which is on Monday nights throughout the summer, as well as our music in the park, along with a variety of other events, such as our Grape Escape event, Poochapalooza in August. We just have a ton going on.
So who are some of the musical performers you have coming?
We have Scrapes of Brass coming. We have American English. We have a Dueling Pianos. As for some of our other events, Mike and Joe are being featured at one of our special events. And you know, we just have a ton of people. We have a committee that listens to them throughout the year, goes to showcases. We love public opinion. Yeah, so it's really great.
Oh, that's a great way to do it, to really gather some, or garner, I should say, some interest from the general public.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good. So Munster residents get to participate.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, this is for the Munster residents, so I mean, we just want to do anything we can.
So tell me about the Grape Escape. What's that?
The Grape Escape is our winery event. We get local Indiana wineries to come out and, you know, just be at the event. They can showcase their wines, you know, do taste testings, and it's just an all-around, it's a family event. You know, but some you have to be 21 and older in order to taste test the wine. But I mean, we have music, we have food vendors, and it's just an all-around a great experience.
And Poochapalooza.
That is our dog event. That is all about your furry friend. We get dog vendors to come out from, you know, food to treats to boutiques, anything you can imagine. We want it there. It's for your furry friend.
And then you also have ongoing, I believe, a farmer's market.
Correct. That takes place every Sunday at Centennial Park, and that will coincide with Poochapalooza on August 17th, along with our Summer Arts and Crafts Fair.
So a lot of different reasons for people to come to the park.
Exactly, because we offer, I mean, we offer a ton.
Yeah, and it's arts related, and it's everything.
Yeah, and we're always looking for new artists, new vendors for anything, so.
Good, so check out your website.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, lots of information there.
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks for being here to tell us about
Thank
it.
you.
And thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Eye on the Arts.
If you'd like to find out anything more about the Eye on the Arts story or any of our segments on Lakeshore Report, go to our website, lakeshorepublicmedia.org. You can find everything you need right there. Hillary, what are you working on for next week?
We're going to go a little bit more in depth with the former Gary Mayor Richard Hatcher and talk to him about how far we've come, in his opinion, and also talk to Reverend Jackson as well.
Okay, so a continuation of the civil rights story.
That's right.
Excellent.
Yeah, and before we go, I do want to say Lakeshore Public Media participated in some of the parades that were going on as a part of this holiday weekend. We had a great time. Thank you to everyone that we saw out there. A lot of fans that we got to meet and speak to. So we had a great time. Thank you so much. We hope you're enjoying the holiday weekend. We hope you enjoy the show. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, we always want to hear your feedback and want to hear from you. You can send us your thoughts, questions, or concerns at tvfeedback@lakeshorepublicmedia.org. You can also reach us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, we're there. So again, we want to hear from you.
We've got another event coming up this weekend at the very tail end of the weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
We do, as you heard Tom Maloney and I talking about earlier. You can see us out at the Lightning Bug Music Festival. It's going to be a great time, and it supports, again, a good local cause. So a charitable event that looks to be a lot of fun.
So hopefully the weather holds for the whole
Yes.
weekend. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you next week on Lakeshore Report.